Salutations, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of PTV FC. And oh man, do we have a lot to talk about. So we're going to touch on everything from college soccer to both the European competitions, and we'll talk about a little bit about the Premier League as well. So before we get into this behemoth of a show, boys, I want to ask you how you guys are doing.
Doing great, Louis. It was a fantastic week of both professional and collegiate soccer, and you guys are going to have to stick around because this is definitely a show you do not want to miss back home.
Yeah, I wish my Gunners did better in the Europa League. We'll get into that a little bit later. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how this week went in terms of soccer.
We definitely will talk about that in a second. But first, I want to talk about our local team, Seton Hall men's soccer. Man, are they playing well. And honestly, when I came here, I'm not going to lie, I thought Seton Hall was a basketball school, but the soccer team quickly proved me wrong as they now won 2 games in a row in the NCAA tournament, and they're now through to the Elite Eight. One game was against Air Force, was the first game that they played since the last time that we came together for PTV FC. They won that game, and then they played Virginia Tech in an absolute thriller of a contest, and they came out victorious. So I just want to get your initial thoughts on one or both of those games that Seton Hall played.
Yeah, so let's start with the Air Force game. So that was the round of 32 game between the number 6 ranked Pirates and then whatever the 27th ranked Air Force Falcons. And Air Force actually put up a pretty solid fight, like score-wise, but honestly, like stats-wise, they were outclassed every single place. I just think that Seton Hall had so much more in the tank, and they really deserved that win. I mean, the Air Force Falcons really only had a handful of shots, and they got dominated the entire game. They just had one counterattack that ended up being a goal, and then Seton Hall was like, all right, this is a little bit uncomfortable right now, but we're okay. And then in the 89th minute, of course, the golden man himself, CJ Tiebling, the Swede, comes up and he hits a fantastic shot with his right foot right over the goalie. Perfect ending to a very, very dominant game. And I'm just happy that the score reflected what the game was really like.
Yeah, honestly, that Air Force game was a little too close for comfort. Seton Hall definitely dominated on the stat sheet, but I don't know. It kind of felt like towards the end, I kind of thought Air Force was gonna steal the game from them because they had a lot of momentum in those last 20 minutes or so. And even though Seton Hall had some great chances earlier on, like Razamir, if that shot had gone in the first half, that'd been a huge momentum booster. Because I mean, he was so close to the net. I really thought he was gonna knock that one home, but obviously things happen. Not a big deal. Seton Hall still pulled out the win, but I kind of thought. I mean, Air Force had a couple of really good chances late. They had one goal that was just barely called offside, and another one that Luka Don stopped. I think Tristan Traeger for Air Force. He was right next to right on the 6-yard line or something like that. Had a clear shot at net, but Luka Don muscled him off the ball, and it could have been a pen, but the ref didn't call it, and he didn't get the shot off, so it was just straight Seton Hall ball. So I mean, it was a really close game. Shout out to CJ Tiebling, man. Sorry, getting my words jumbled up a little bit there, but shout out to CJ Tiebling. He's goated for sure. Definitely goated on the sticks. And yeah, great win.
Yeah, Ryan, you talked about CJ Tiebling, and one of the first things I have in my notes to talk about this game is who but WB Mason? No, who but CJ Tiebling? Because this guy has ice in his veins. He always comes up clutch for Seton Hall. And like both of you said, it was really a great goal to watch. I would have liked to see that on ESPN. That would have been pretty cool. But yeah, Air Force, they really didn't play well for about 70 minutes of that game. And then the last 20, it was a bit scary watching for Seton Hall because the Seton Hall had the momentum for, like I said, for majority of the game. But then it was Air Force that was actually putting the pressure on late. And I was thinking, oh, this could be bad because if Air Force gets one, really, really late, then it could be clips for Seton Hall. But that wasn't the case. Like I said, CJ Tiebling coming up absolutely huge. And Ryan, you're right. He is goated. Now, moving on to the Virginia Tech versus Seton Hall game, we have another player on this team who's goated. And his name kind of sounds like goated. Andres Nota? No. More like Andres Gota. Come on now. This game was another game where Seton Hall also played really well for majority of the game. Early on, there was a penalty that Seton Hall was granted. I don't remember who took it. I think it was JP Marin, and he wasn't able to convert on the penalty. It was a nice save by the VT keeper. And then VT ended up scoring. They scored about halfway through the first period of play against Seton Hall. And despite, again, Seton Hall being the better side in that game, and I was a bit concerned, but then right towards the end, with just a few seconds left in the first half, Seton Hall was able to get one James Boot from a corner onto the head of local boy Mo Williams. He's from South Orange. He was able to score a goal with, like I said, just a few seconds left in the first half. So that was exciting. That was a big momentum switch as well. And then the second half was equally as entertaining. Virginia Tech scored a goal with like just 10 minutes into that second half, and then the momentum switched back in their side. And then Seton Hall comes roaring back, and they were able to score a goal in the 80th minute to tie it up. It was Andrea Borg with this goal, and then it was 2-2. And just 1 minute after that, Virginia Tech player Jacob Labovich, I believe it is, he got a second yellow, which resulted in a red card. And so Virginia Tech had to play with only 10 men for the rest of regulation. Seton Hall was unable to score. And then period 1 and period 2 of overtime, Seton Hall was still unable to score, so it went to penalties. And this is where I bring up our guy, Andres Nota. He made a few big saves, and there were times where Seton Hall had to score in order to keep playing, and their shooters were very calm, very collected. They were able to score on the penalty. And then in that 8th round of that penalty shootout, man, I was so ready to get hyped. I see Andres Nota walk up to take the penalty, and I was just thinking, he's got it. He's got it all the way. This guy, much like T-Bling, has ice in his veins. He's a goalkeeper for Seton Hall. He comes up big in net, and I was like, I have a feeling he's going to come up big from the penalty spot, and he did exactly that. He netted the ball. He got it past the goalkeeper. Seton Hall advances. I am happy that I was able to watch that game in full and just watch some really, really competitive, good soccer from Seton Hall.
He's got the Mamba mentality, man. I remember another guy, I don't know who it was on Seton Hall, came up, was like, yeah, I'm going to take this free kick. Andreas Nota says, no, you're not going to take this free kick. Or not free kick, penalty kick. I'm taking this penalty kick. Goes in and slots it for the game. Ice in his veins, like you said, Louis. And got, I don't know if it was a save or he forced a miss on the previous shot because it hit off the post, and I couldn't tell if he got a deflection on it or not for the Virginia Tech shot before that one. So I don't know if he got a save or if they just missed, but either way, he might have had it covered. So, absolutely Mamba mentality from the king himself, the king Andreas Nota. Gotta love it. And I mean, Seton Hall, they're going to give me a heart attack one of these days, man. I swear, these games are all way, way too close for comfort. It's nothing like, that Marquette game that we saw in the Big East tournament where they just won 4-1 and dominated the whole time. It's always way too close. I'm always on the edge of my seat. It makes it exciting. It's what you want as a sports fan, but at the same time, it's kind of like, can they just give me a day off? Like, can we just get a free one today? I know it's not going to happen, especially as they move forward in the tournament. I mean, they're coming up against Indiana, who's number 3 in the nation. But it's always fun watching them play for sure.
And once again, Louis, this is another game that Seton Hall dominated from start to end, but the score didn't reflect that. I mean, at one point, Virginia Tech, after they scored their second goal, 2 shots all game, 2 shots on target, 2 goals, whereas Seton Hall had 14 shots in that first half alone and ended with shots in the 20s. I believe it was 22, 23 shots altogether. Another game where Seton Hall really showed who's boss and who's the better team. Virginia Tech had absolutely no problem soaking up the pressure and just kind of letting their goalie go to work, which was also the case in the Air Force game. I mean, likewise, the Air Force goalie had 6 saves altogether, whereas the Virginia Tech goalie had 7 saves in the first half alone. I mean, this guy was playing almost at a superhuman level for the entire game against Seton Hall. But finally, Mo Williams was able to get on the score sheet, then Andrea Borg in the 81st. And from that point forward, it was smooth sailing, I feel like, for Seton Hall. I did not have anything to worry about until the penalty kicks happened. And when Andreas Nota had to save the 3rd or 4th penalty, and he did, everyone was just going nuts here at the WSCU studio. I mean, I was sitting alongside Wilner Lewis, and the two of us just got up together, and we were just like flexing and yelling, "Let's go!" And then when Andreas Nota saved the PK and it got saved onto the post, we were once again going nuts. And of course, when Andreas Nota comes up to take the final penalty kick, we're both saying, what's going on here? Why is he taking this penalty kick? At what point do you ever want your goalie taking a penalty kick? But this is definitely a moment where you do want your goalie to take it. Andreas Nota had the confidence of anyone I've ever seen in my entire life, and he just shut me up real quick. Perfect penalty. No one in the world is saving that. I mean, you could have Manuel Neuer in net. He's not saving that goal. So it was ultimately a really, really good game. Another game where they put the world on notice about who might be the best team remaining in this tournament. I mean, who's to say Seton Hall isn't the favorites right now for the tournament? I really think that Seton Hall, they're really coming together really well. They have a lot of good chemistry, and they've just been dominating their opponents through the first two games against the best teams in the nation. I really like Seton Hall's chances going forward, and I was so excited that they were able to get through to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I was so excited and had so much fun watching this game that I gave an entire rundown for the viewers at home, and I was just I was so excited. And you bring up a good point. The scoreline won't say it, but Seton Hall for sure it has to be a favorite in this tournament. I don't know. I think they're still ranked sixth nationally. I mean, I don't think they've updated that ranking yet. But based on the way they've played, maybe not the scoreline per se, and the fact that they had to go to penalties, but just based on the way they played, the amount of shots that they were able to get, they look good, man. They look like a professional soccer team. And it's like I said, it's really fun to watch, really fun, really exciting to watch them play. And Ryan brought up the fact of how these games are so close. Yes, it provides a lot of entertainment for us, but also provides a lot of heart attacks and mini heart attacks for us as well. I bring up the Cardiac Kids, which is actually the 1980 Browns, who are members of the NFL. And honestly, Seton Hall is pretty similar to them because of just how scary it can be watching them play. But moving forward, I think Seton Hall has a good chance. Their next game is going to be against Indiana. Indiana is the third seed in like third seed ranked nationally, and I think Seton Hall is, has the quality, has the momentum, has been playing well enough to take down Indiana. Who's to say, as you said, Jimmy, that Seton Hall is not the favorite in this game? I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I would be a little bit hesitant to say that Seton Hall is going to be just fine, just because Indiana does have 8 national championships in the sport of men's soccer. So they're almost like the Alabama of football, but in the world of soccer. So I do think Indiana, they're a very, very good team. They're number 3 in the nation for a reason. And with a few of the top dogs getting knocked off their perch over the past weekend, I do think that Indiana, I think whoever wins the Indiana and Seton Hall game is going to go on to win this tournament. I do think that these are two of the most ridiculously stacked teams in the entire tournament. And I mean, Seton Hall, like we've said, great on offense. They've been playing very, very good defense. Same thing with Indiana. I mean, Indiana's defense is something like I've never, ever seen before. They don't give up goals at all. And I just think that it's going to be a little bit tough for Seton Hall to be able to break down this defense. And if they are, then they're going to be able to break down any defense that anyone throws at them. I mean, this team has just so much resilience, the Seton Hall team. And I do think that ultimately I could see them beating this Indiana team, but I think it's going to be a very, very close game. And I think it's going to be easily the hardest game that Seton Hall has played this year.
Definitely going to be one of them. I know you cannot count out their games against Georgetown, because Georgetown was ranked top 5 for most of the year this year for very good reason. But Indiana, definitely a tough opponent. But I mean, their wins in this tournament haven't been super convincing, if I'm being honest. I mean, they barely squeezed by, what was it, St. Francis Brooklyn or some team like that. I didn't even know that was a division. I didn't even know that was Division I college, if I'm being real with you. And I mean, their Marquette game, they had the same number of shots on target as Marquette. Obviously, that's not the only indicator of how close a game was. I'm not trying to say that it was, but it's something to look at for sure. They're you said, Jimmy, they're very prolific defensively, but they might not be as prolific offensively as Seton Hall is. So I think it should be a great matchup, especially if Seton Hall can catch Indiana on the counterattack like they've been doing against these top tier teams all season. That's how they won against Georgetown. That in that Big East championship game, they had a couple of goals that just came off of really quick passes down the field, and if they can catch them off guard, I'm really excited to see what this Seton Hall team can do. And looking forward, they should have all the confidence in the world. I mean, they haven't lost for 2 months since that first game against Georgetown, and they beat Georgetown since. So they should really have all the confidence that they can beat anyone in the country at this point. And I'm really hoping that they can go far.
Right. And I said they're going to be fine just in the sense that I think they have the quality to compete. I'm not going to discredit Indiana at all. I think that they're a really good team. Obviously, they're ranked higher than Seton Hall. They have to be pretty good, right? I think that Seton Hall, how they've been playing offensively, that's going to be able to carry them through, and they're going to put up the goals necessary. And if they don't put up the goals necessary as the two games we saw before, they're going to be able to put up the pressure, get those shots, maybe work in some set pieces, as we've seen Boot be so dominant, so dangerous from those set pieces this season, as he has I think 8 or 9 assists on the year. He's that is not a guy that you want to see standing over a ball if the opposing team commits a foul close to anywhere around the box, to be honest, because he's not only able to cross the ball in, but we've also been able to see him be able to shoot the ball on net and cause some problems there. So I just think Seton Hall has the quality to compete with this Indiana team, but also kind of like what Ryan was saying, we cannot discredit Georgetown. They were 2 in the nation at some point. They're in the other bracket. If Seton Hall wins and Georgetown wins, then Seton Hall is going to have to play Georgetown. It's a Big East team. They already have a rivalry because of the times that they've met earlier this season, both in the regular season as well as in the Big East championship. So that's going to be a huge game if Seton Hall can even advance that far. But that brings me to this: is what do you guys think, or how far do you think Seton Hall can go in this tournament? You think they can beat Indiana and then Georgetown and then even Pitt? Or another team from the other side of the bracket?
I mean, straight up, I think this team can go all the way. They've proved it this season. I think that they have the ability on their day to beat anyone in the nation. That being said, we talked about their challenge against Indiana. That's going to be a tough one. They're very experienced against Georgetown at this point. If they met up in the semifinals, that would be their 4th meeting of the season. So that, the two teams like that, they have a huge rivalry at this point. And both want to beat each other really badly, considering it would be the semifinals of the NCAA tournament. And Marshall is not to be scoffed at. They just took down Clemson, who was obviously the #1 seed in the nation. And they're a really good team. They're ranked 9th. The only reason that they're not ranked on the website is because they're ranked 1 spot out of the top 8. So they're a very, very good team. And I think they could beat Georgetown. There's no reason why Marshall can't beat Georgetown. So it would be an interesting matchup if they played Marshall in that semifinal. And looking forward, I mean, Pitt is just dominant. Like, Pitt is really just killing everyone. They're just cooking teams at this point. I mean, they took down Monmouth 6-1, UCF 4-0, clean sheet. That is really impressive. They've got a bigger challenge in Washington coming up. But if they can beat Washington the way that they've been beating these teams, they could be scary if Seton Hall meets them in the final. Either way, if they're on their day, like I said, I think they can take down anyone in the country.
And I agree with you, Ryan. I really do think this team has the ability to go all the way. If the cards stack up right for Seton Hall, I could easily see them bringing back the hardware to South Orange. I do know that they do have a lot of great goal scorers and a lot of good players at the back. Seton Hall does. And of course, my guy, James Boot in the midfield, really just running the show. He's just been absolutely incredible this year. I believe he has 9 assists this year, all from set pieces. So he's pretty much like the Tony Cruz of college soccer. Like, he's just putting everything on a plate, just absolutely brilliantly on all set pieces. And you did bring up Pitt and Ryan. I do think that they're probably the front runner right now, Pitt. But if they were to slip
I would agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're #2 in the nation, and they're really backing it up this year. Like you said, they've won their first 2 games at an aggregate score of 9-1. So they've been absolutely dominant every facet of the game. I think that if Pitt were to lose to Washington, then I could see Seton Hall being that next in line team to be the favorite. But right now, I think Pitt is the favorite. And if Pitt were to come up against Seton Hall, I'd have a tough time trying to say that Seton Hall is going to win the game, but I do have a lot of hope. And I've been saying it a few times this season where I don't really know if Seton Hall is going to end up winning the game, and they have won it. So they've shut me up quite a bit number of times this year. So I do think that they have the ability to go all the way Seton Hall as long as the cards stack up against them correctly. And as long as they don't play against Pitt, I think they're going to be bringing the hardware home.
Yeah, I said it on Hall Talk, which is another PTV production. I said that I think Seton Hall has the ability to go all the way, just as you both have said. And this was coming out. I said this comment after they beat Georgetown, who was the number 2 seed at the time, and I thought that they won convincingly enough for me that they were able to go out and beat the 1 seed. But you guys are correct. Pitt is kind of scary. Ryan mentioned the amount of goals they scored, and so did Jimmy. It's really insane to see that they're able to score just at will almost, because now Monmouth, I wouldn't say Monmouth is one of the best teams in this tournament, but regardless, putting up 5 or even 6 or 4 goals, whatever the number was, that's pretty good against any team. And it just goes to show how high-powered a team like Pitt is. Luckily for Seton Hall, they won't have to play Pitt until the championship game. So by then, assuming that Pitt goes that far and Seton Hall does as well, it's going to be one heck of a game to watch. That's going to be an offensive battle, and I think it's going to come down to the goalkeepers, and we have Andres Gota, so I'm not too worried. It's going to be a good game regardless of what happens. But I want to move now from college soccer to professional soccer and into the European competitions. We have the 2 teams that are going to be playing each other in the Champions League final. They're both English teams. It's Chelsea versus Man City. And I was going to say that Man City is going to win this clear and away. But if you guys paid attention to the Premier League today, Man City actually just lost to Chelsea. So this throws a twist in it, in my opinion. I want to hear what you guys have to think.
So, Louis, you did say that they lost to Chelsea today, but did you see the starting 11s for both teams today?
I understand Man City was resting their guys, but even so, I think that they're a good enough team where they probably should have won that game.
I mean, they were trying something out clearly because they played a 3-3-3-1 formation, which I have never ever seen in my life before. So I was really, really confused with what Pep was doing in this game. And I mean, they only really played like 2 or 3 starters in there, what they would usually play. They only played like Rodri, Ruben Diaz, and Ederson, and everyone else has just been a backup for them. So I wouldn't really be too concerned if I was Man City. I mean, they did lose to the FA Cup again. They played a backup team to Chelsea. They lost today. They played a backup team to Chelsea, and Chelsea played pretty much their entire full strength 11.
Your
And
guy Raheem Sterling scored today, Jimmy. How do you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, he scored, but
Jimmy's favorite player right there.
Yeah,
Let's
right?
go.
I mean, if he wins the Champions League for Man City, I mean, if he scores a game-winning goal, maybe I'll change my preference on him. Maybe you'll hear me say I was wrong, and Raheem Sterling is really, really good. But for now, I'm keeping my stance of Raheem Sterling is not that great. I mean, he should have also had a penalty kick today, but that was not reviewed and not given. So I do think that Man City is still the stronger team. I really think that Man City flexed their muscles and really showed the world that by beating PSG, they can go toe to toe and beat absolutely anybody in their path. And I do expect a Man City win in Istanbul if it's played in Istanbul and not Aston Villa. Because I've seen that they might be played in Aston Villa, which I mean, not necessarily the greatest place to play a Champions League final, but nonetheless, if you win the Champions League final in Aston Villa, Champions League, and I'm picking Man City to win. I'm going to say 3-1 against Chelsea in the Champions League final.
Yeah, first off, shout out to Chelsea, man. Respect where respect is due. A few episodes ago, I kind of went on a tirade saying that I didn't think that they deserved to be in the semifinal. And I thought they were going to get clapped by Real Madrid. And then they went and clapped Real Madrid. So, shout out to Chelsea. They definitely proved me wrong. That being said, they're going to have to prove me wrong again because I agree with Jimmy on this one. I don't think that they're going to be able to beat Man City. Chelsea is really trying to jockey for position for that final Champions League spot at this point. So they knew they had to play their best 11 in the Premier League. They have to not win out because they're in third and they're now 2 games clear of 5th place, but they're really trying to secure that final Champions League spot. Thomas Tuchel is trying to, kind of make his mark on the club in his first year. And that Pep Guardiola, Man City is so far clear of all these other teams. It's ridiculous. I mean, they need 1 win to secure the title. So they just said, we're just going to mess around this game. Let's just try something out. Like Jimmy said, shout out Raheem Sterling for getting a goal. Definitely not overrated at all. But I don't think in the Champions League final, that's not going to happen. Pep is going to send out his best squad. He's going to do his tried and true tactics. I don't think Chelsea's going to win. It's going to be a really hard game for them to win, in my opinion, with how strong Man City has been all season, especially when they play their best 11.
And Man City is 13 points ahead of Manchester United. And that just goes to show how far ahead they are in the standings. They're going to be fine in the Premier League. They're going to be fine in the Champions League. I think that, I talked about on the show before how I think Manchester City, when healthy and when everyone's playing well, they're the best team in the world. And you guys won't agree with me. And that's fine. But I think they're going to show how good they are when they play Chelsea. I was just surprised because I understand that a lot of subs were being played, and also they were trying something new with that formation that is pretty odd. But regardless, if you know you have a big game against a team, and Chelsea is not to be laughed at, right? They're playing well. They're a big club. Thomas Tuchel came over, and I want to talk about him in a second. But Thomas Tuchel came over and changed that team for the better. And they've honestly been on such a good run of form since he became the manager. But Chelsea is not a team to be laughed at. So it's weird that they were willing to put out a team that wasn't the best quality and be able to take a loss and then have to turn around and play them again after losing to them in a much bigger stage in the Champions League final. Now, again, I know they were resting their guys and all the substitutes were in. Jimmy's favorite player scored, so the world's upside down. But I don't know. For me, I would want to beat this team and then beat them again. That's just me. Maybe that's not what the managers think, and only time will tell. So we will see what the managers will do in that Champions League final. But a manager I want to talk about is Tuchel. 25 games he has been the manager of Chelsea, and they've won 17 of them. They've only lost 2 games out of the 25 that he's been a part of, and they're playing really well. So I gotta say hats off to Thomas Tuchel. Regardless of if he wins or not, he brought them to the finals. That's an awesome feat. Also, I believe that he's the only coach to bring 2 teams to the Champions League finals in back-to-back years, and those teams were different teams. So that's honestly super impressive for me to see him be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very impressive, but I feel like there's always this sort of honeymoon sort of grace period when a team brings in a new manager. I mean, at this time last season, Arteta was just tearing through everyone. We won the FA Cup and the Community Shield, and we finished higher in the past few seasons than we did in the Premier League. Things are really looking up for Arsenal. And if you told me that right now and I didn't know what happened last year, I probably wouldn't believe you because we just look horrible. Arteta could be sacked. He literally could be sacked for how poorly Arsenal has done this season. But props to him for sure. But I think that not this season, but the season coming up after that, I think that's really going to show what Thomas Tuchel is made of, because once teams start adjusting to his tactics, get a little more film on him, it'll really show if he can adjust to what they're doing to try and counter him. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But Chelsea definitely looking bright for the future.
I do agree with your honeymoon kind of reference there, Ryan, but I do think that one thing that separates like the honeymoon period that Ole had and what Arteta had was between what Tuchel has right now is Tuchel's had a lot of experience in the past where he's been like really, really good with other clubs. I mean, he's been really good with PSG. He brought them to the Champions League final last year. I mean, he's won the Ligue 1, I think it was 3 straight years with PSG. And then he was great with Dortmund as well, just before coming to PSG. So he was a very, very good manager in 2 high-stakes jobs before he took the Chelsea job. And I do have to give my hat off to Tuchel because he really did what Frank Lampard couldn't do and what a lot of managers couldn't do at Chelsea, and that's bring them to a Champions League final. I mean, the last one to do that was Jose Mourinho in 2012, and we all know how that went. They were underdogs, and they came out and they beat Bayern Munich, and that was one of the best Champions League finals of all time. So I wouldn't necessarily count out Chelsea completely, but I do think that they are the inferior team just on paper itself. But then again, football's not played on paper. So we don't know how it's necessarily going to go until the night of the game when we see the starting 11s, when we see what's going on at halftime, and potentially after full time if the game ends after 90 minutes. We'll either be saying, wow, Tuchel just had a complete masterclass and really outmanaged Pep Guardiola in the biggest game of his career, or we'll be saying, wow, he really just fell flat on his face in a second straight final and got completely outmanaged by Pep. So only time will tell what's going to happen with Thomas Tuchel, but hats off to him. I really, really liked – I didn't love his appointment at the time, but I have to say really, really successful. and I hope the best for the future of Chelsea under his regime.
Football is not played on paper, Jimmy. I love that saying. I'm going to use that a lot now. Thank you for saying that. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's
That's
a good
great.
saying, Louis. I give you permission to use that now. And Ryan, if you want to use it too, you can go
Oh,
ahead.
so it's not trademarked? It's not you don't have the Jimmy Bliss trademark on it?
I'm gonna
I think
plagiarize
we're
it.
gonna,
No
I think we're gonna
quotation.
PTV FC trademark that one. So
Oh, there we go. I
the
like that.
5 of us
Football-
can all use it whenever we want.
Right.
Okay.
Football's not played on paper.
So I don't have to plagiarize it then. I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. We'll just
Okay.
put a little TM next to your name, Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll use it in my essay that I have to write later. But back to Thomas Tuchel, Jimmy hit on the point that I was going to say. He brings success to wherever he goes. The last two teams, obviously PSG. I don't even have to talk about it too much because you guys already know. PSG, Borussia Dortmund, both played well under Tuchel. And also in terms of the honeymoon grace period, Frank Lampard really didn't have that with Chelsea. He kind of struggled. He was underwhelming. He didn't meet people's expectations, and that's why he got sacked. And that's why Tuchel is now the manager. So, I mean, I think he's doing a fantastic job. And I don't remember who said it, but he's setting up Chelsea for the future. And I'm also excited to see how Chelsea plays in the future because now they're becoming one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League as they're in third. And who knows, maybe next season they're able to edge out Manchester City or Manchester United for one of those top two spots in the Premier League. And it's going to be exciting to see. But we talked about the Champions League. Now I want to talk about the Europa League. And much like the Champions League, the Europa League has also narrowed down the competition to just two teams. And it looks like it's going to be Manchester United and Arsenal. Oh, not Arsenal. It's going to be Villarreal, actually, in the final. And honestly, I don't have too much to say because I'm sure you guys have a lot to say. So I just want to sit back and let you guys hash this one out.
So I'll start this one off, Ryan. We'll talk about Man United first, then we'll get to Arsenal in the next segment. So great win over two legs for Man United. They won 6-2 in the first leg, and we didn't really need to do anything in the second leg. The game was already set and done. We ended up losing on aggregate, well, not on aggregate, but we ended up losing that second game 3-2, which I don't really care about. I mean, it was the same thing as what would have happened if the game ended after the first leg. I mean, we still went through. Edison Cavani, absolutely fantastic player. Everyone played really well. And at halftime, that's when a lot of the reinforcements came in. We started giving up goals, but I don't care. The game, the tie was already set and done. So I'm really excited for Ole's first final. And I do think that Man United should be the favorites for this next game against Villarreal. But once again, Man United struggles against a lot of Spanish opposition. And that's how they've gotten knocked out over the past 4 years in European football. So crazier things have happened in football. And once again, football is not played on paper. So we are going to see what happens in this next game. I mean, Unai Emery is going to be going toe-to-toe with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited for the future of this Manchester United team. And I'll pass the baton over to Ryan to talk about a little bit of whatever's on his mind.
All I know is pain. These past few seasons have been rough. This is definitely a low moment. You know, my hot take, proven wrong pretty quickly, very, very quickly. Just wasn't a good game. Pretty boring, really. I mean, 0-0 draw, nothing really happened. Like, I don't even know what to say about it because nothing happened the entire game. Congrats to Unai Emery, I guess, for doing what he couldn't with Arsenal and doing it with Villarreal instead. I'm totally not salty about him at all succeeding elsewhere. But I don't know. I mean, this really could be the end of the road for Arteta. You know, I'd probably give him one more season just to, you know, really show. I mean, it's not long enough. I feel like clubs kind of tend to just give a manager a season, and if he doesn't work out immediately, then he's gone. But I think that one more season.
But Ryan, just to interrupt you for 1 second, like I honestly think this is kind of where Arsenal should be based on their current squad. Like if you're going to bring in a manager with this squad right now, I don't think you're winning Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. I think you're staying kind of top 8 in the Premier League and semifinals of the Europa League until you do improve the defense, the midfield, and the attack. Because right now you really only have a handful of players that would get into better team squads like Leno and like Aubameyang. But apart from those two, a lot of these guys aren't really top notch.
I mean, we literally just spent like 50 million euros on Thomas Partey this year, and I've seen him in action like what 5 times. He barely gets any playing time. Like play the guys that you buy. It's that simple. You're spending all this money on players, and you're not even using them in their right positions or at all, even. So I don't know. I'm sort of giving up on Arsenal. We're kind of a lost cause at this point. Obviously, I'm a fan, but it's very disappointing. So yeah, good job, Jimmy. Red Devils, very convincing, especially first game. Very convincing win against Roma. I think they should take it over Villarreal in the final, but who knows?
Now, I think I don't have to say much, but I think that Manchester United is going to beat Villarreal in the final. And it was unfortunate to see Ryan's prediction be wrong. It would have been something if we had the Red Devils versus the Gunners, and you guys were just going at each other on the show. I think that would be pretty cool. But nevertheless, that's not going to be the case. Manchester United, I just think, is better than Villarreal, straight up. Football is not played on paper, as we said a few times this episode, but it might as well be in this game. I think that they're going to win this one just fine. I'm probably, overlooking Villarreal a little bit too much, but I just am very confident in Manchester United's ability right now. I like how they're playing. They're playing really well. And Jimmy, like you said, they really didn't need to do too much in that second game because they won the first game by so many goals that regardless of what happened, it was kind of over from the beginning almost. But nevertheless, I'm gonna tune in. I'm gonna watch the game. I'm gonna, I'm still excited to see what happens. Maybe Villarreal is able to pull something, and they're able to outclass Manchester United. That would be something. And I'm sure that episode would not be a good one for Jimmy, as he would come in and be kind of angry at that one. But that's all the time we have today here
Real
at
quick,
PTV
Louis,
FC.
I just want to say, Mikel Arteta, you get me bullied in school. That's all I want to say.
God. Oh, that is unfortunate, Ryan. That is unfortunate.
That's
Any
it.
closing remarks, Jimmy?
I'm just ready for Ole to lift the first silverware since 1999 with him scoring that game-winning goal against Bayern Munich in the 92nd minute. But yeah, I'm just really excited to see where Man United goes. I was a little bit hesitant on Ole's appointment as it was in the beginning, but he's proven me wrong, and he's a fantastic manager. Let's go Red Devils.
That's going to do it here for us on PTVFC. For my panel of Jimmy Bliss and Ryan Johnston, which for some reason I didn't mention in the intro, kudos to you guys. I'm Louis Pasculli, and we will see you next time.